how many bottles of wine should I bring to a holiday gathering?
So if you're throwing a party, like how many should you have?
Yeah, how many should I have?
What
Yeah,
do you need to
exactly.
have on hand?
Yeah.
No, not a problem. So if we're going to be assuming that this is the regular size bottle of 750 that everyone kind of knows, we're going to think that you're going to get 5 full glasses out of this. Okay. So depending upon your family or who's coming to dinner, you can assume that most people are going to have between 2 to 3 glasses. Some people more. Some people may enjoy a full bottle, and then you may have some teetotalers, so you won't have people drinking it all.
Okay.
If you do get 5 pours out of a glass, I would be safe to assume 2 to 3 glasses per person over the evening for a regular meal.
So that's pretty easy math.
Yeah, pretty easy math. So depending upon your number, then you can do the multiplication out from there.
Nice.
Pretty straightforward.
Nice.
All right.
So one more question before we head on into Christmas. What wine should I bring to a dinner party? If I'm actually not hosting the party itself, what, like for a host present or a host gift, if I'm going and being invited, what should I bring?
Perfect hostess or host gifts are definitely things that have something or meaning to you. Okay. So if you were visiting wine country and you were out and you had a wine that was really special that you enjoyed, if it was in the right budget for you, that would be something really great. People love a personal touch.
That makes sense.
Think about the crowd too. You can always play to the crowd. One of the things to always think about though is if you're bringing a gift to the host or the hostess, when you present it to them, don't always assume that they're going to be opening it right there. Now it might be something that they may want to put away or save for another time, or maybe save when you come back personally for dinner and they can make a meal just for the 2 of you.
Right on.
Bubbles are always nice as well, so people always accept those. Now one other thing too is that a lot of people, not everyone drinks. Or you may be getting something for the lady of the house or what have you. So something like a bottle of olive oil or something of that nature is always really good as well.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so for that non-drinker, something like that, it's always perfect.
Totally. I have a friend who lives up here in wine country, and he collects wine. He's part of tons of different wineries, like members. So he has this huge collection. I don't know what to bring to him because I don't want to bring the bottle of wine because he probably already has it or he has better wine. Yeah. So it's great, the idea of olive oil.
Yeah, and olive oil, Meyer lemon olive oil or something fresh of the season is always pleasant.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you one more question about wine.
Please, I love wine questions.
Yeah. So how much wine should I pour into a glass?
That's a great question because a lot of people are always wondering like what looks good, what doesn't look good, where do you go with it? So here at Kendall-Jackson, we do tastings all the time. We pour all kinds of amounts of wines for different purposes. When you're doing a tasting, you're going to want to pour a small pour, maybe a 2 ounce or 2.5 ounce pour.
That makes sense.
So if you're looking at a glass, a 2 ounce pour is going to look a bit like this. And that's a nice greeting taste, or
so to get the flavor.
Just a little flavor. Now, if you were a host and people were coming in, you were receiving your guest, maybe a little bit more, but not a full glass. That's about a 3.5 ounce pour. It's a little less than a full glass, and it looks very nice in the glass.
It still looks great. Yeah, it still looks like you're getting like.
Totally looks good. Yeah. Now, if we were talking about pouring full glasses of wine, we're thinking a 5 ounce pour. We're going to get 5 pours out of this 750. Right? Okay. Now the glass, I'm not going to pour too much more as what you think looks like in there.
That wasn't much.
But that's because the glass is much wider, so it takes a little more to get in there. That's about a 5 ounce pour. If we take a look at it right here next to that, we're pretty much almost spot on, right? Not my first time to the rodeo.
You know what you're doing.
We've done it before. Now, okay, if that's a 5 ounce pour, now every once in a while, and I poured lots of wine for different people, I always have that guy who comes over and pushes your elbow and things like that. When is too much, right?
Okay, yeah, totally.
You kind of just don't want to look gauche, you know what I mean? And so if you're pouring, depending upon the stem that you're pouring in, I would say that would be a pretty healthy pour for most people, for sure. And I just wouldn't want to go too much more than something that looked like that. Okay, yeah. That's going to look a little tacky if you're walking around. So, that would be about the right size. You can always come back for more. Yeah. And you don't want anyone's wine to get too warm in the glass now, do you? Yeah. And that's why we also hold the stem. Right? Stem in the base, not the bowl.
So now, like,
your hands are warm. Yeah, you don't want to really think you may be touching things and other stuff. You don't want to leave fingerprints everywhere. Sure. But if you hold the base or you hold the stem, you're not going to be warming the wine as well. And that's true with champagne or reds or whites.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, it's always a good little tip.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question about wine again, because you're the wine expert.
Not a problem.
What temperature should I serve my wine at?
These are all great questions and super important ones. Temperature can really, really mess up a wine. If it's too warm, it can really taste volatile.
No one likes
and really
red.
taste. No one wants to drink warm red wine. So I always choose to err on the side of cold.
Okay.
So I would say, if you're going to be entertaining a few people and having some friends over, put your reds in the fridge.
In the fridge?
It doesn't sound right, I know, right? But pull it out about an hour and a half beforehand. Open
Okay,
it then
that makes
and let it come to temp in the room.
Okay.
You want to serve it probably around 58 to 60, somewhere in that range, if you can.
Okay.
Because think if it gets warm, it's easier if it's cool and starts to warm. If you're hosting and the wine's too warm, you got to run around and throw it in ice buckets. You don't want to deal with that,
that's
right?
too much of a pain.
So if we're doing that with red, then think about the same thing with white. Err on the side of cold. Keep the whites in there. Pull them out just before people show up if you need to air them out. Pop those, but keep them in buckets or keep them submerged. That always helps as well.
That makes sense.
Ice with a little bit of water, and you can throw salt in there and mix it around because salt water actually gets colder.
It does.
And it helps to chill things down a little bit more.
Right on.
So I would say temperature-wise, I would go between 50 to 55, and then they can raise up for the whites. That's whites and bubbles as well.
And bubbles.
And bubbles too. Bubbles, you always want to serve bubbles cold. One of the ways you know that they're a little too warm is if you pop that cork and it makes a blistering noise and stuff pops out, it's probably a little warm.
Okay.
Yeah, so
That's
a little
good to
more
know.
chill on that would be better.
Good to know.
Yeah, definitely. So if you have any questions or anything about the recipes or any of the wines that you saw us pouring tonight, please submit them to Anolon or KJ on Facebook and use the hashtag holiday hosting. Please remember to follow us at Anolon and at KJ Wines.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
so
all
much.
for showing
Good night.
up.
Happy
Good night.
holidays.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
So now we can get the popcorn. Yeah, I know, exactly.